Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
Hell yeah, the government's back open. It's about damn time. Thanks a lot, Democrats, for finally deciding to open it back up. It's Thursday, November 13th, 2025. This is Spathon bringing in another episode of The Swamp. 4 Antifa organizations are being added to the Department of State's list of international terrorist organizations. They've already been deemed national or domestic terrorist organizations, Antifa as a whole, but now they're going to be deemed international terrorist organizations, which I'm sure gives the government a lot more power to go after them. And we also have Secretary Kristi Noem. She announced that all TSA employees who worked throughout the shutdown will receive $10,000 bonuses each. And also Senator John Fetterman, he collapsed while running this morning, and he was sent to the hospital. But it turned out to be a ventricular fibrillation flare-up, but he's expected to be okay. And also the U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, Alina Habba, had her office broken into and vandalized. The Department of Justice is investigating. President Trump, accompanied by First Lady Melania, signed an executive order to strengthen the quality of America's foster care system. And a lot more happened today, so we're just gonna dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like and consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy the daily updates. And I might just read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one. And every article you'll see in the video will be linked in the description below. And by the way, I was unable to get the clips from last night's episode up today, but I will be dropping them over the weekend. Just something came up and I just didn't have enough time to get them all posted. But I will be doing that, hopefully, maybe even tomorrow, but definitely on Saturday. So anyway, I've got this from the Department of State. The government shutdown is over. Thanks to President Trump, we are back and ready to deploy America First foreign policy that is both effective and efficient. Under President Trump's orders, it's time to get back to work. And I believe the State Department, I think they've been posting regularly. There are some accounts that have been shut down because the government's been closed for over a month. So I was pleasantly surprised to see some government accounts posting again. It was kind of nice to see, most of which are pretty boring for the most part, but at least it's nice to see that I've got a better variety of things to choose from, because once the government shut down, there were a lot of X accounts that are government accounts that are run by social media people, and they were not getting paid while the government was shut down. They were furloughed, full-on furloughed. So they weren't, not only were they not getting a paycheck, but they were not allowed to post while the government was shut down. So now I got all kinds of different accounts to look through now. Okay, so this comes from Tommy Pigot, the anarchist, the Marxist, the violent extremist of Antifa have waged a terror campaign in the United States and across the Western world for decades. The State Department is committed to identifying and dismantling these terror networks. And this is from the Department of State once more. Anarchist militants have waged terror campaigns in the United States and Europe, conspiring to undermine the foundations of Western civilization through their brutal attacks. The State Department will designate these 4 Antifa groups as foreign terrorist organizations. And we're going to go through those here. So Antifa Ost, that would be OST, is a terrorist organization based in Germany, which is where Antifa got started in the first place, by the way, back in the 1930s. That is infamous for wielding hammers in premeditated attacks against unsuspecting victims. This Antifa group was named a terrorist organization by Hungary after it attacked 9 victims in Budapest. And we have the next one, Department of State, of course. The International Revolutionary Front is an Italy-based coalition of violent anarchists. The group claimed responsibility for the shooting of an engineering executive in Genoa and sent a series of bombs to politicians, embassies, and civilian targets, injuring several people. Also, Armed Proletarian Justice is a violent Greek anarchist group that pledges to wage armed conflict against police officers and state infrastructure. The terror group used dynamite to build a homemade bomb, then planted it near the Greek riot police headquarters in a failed attack. And then there's the Revolutionary Class Self-Defense, which is a violent anarchist and anti-capitalist group in Greece that claimed responsibility for improvised explosive device attacks targeting the Greek Ministry of Labor and the offices of a major railway. The Trump administration will continue to identify and disrupt Antifa's terror networks across the world. These terrorist designations deny violent organizations access to America's financial system and impose severe penalties on those who offer support to these militant groups. Follow the money. That's what they're going to do. They're going to follow the money, and I bet they're going to find their way into a lot of progressive organizations, a lot of Democrat organizations. Oh, but Antifa is just an idea, though. It's only just totally just an idea. So this is very good news. It's absolutely incredible news on the dismantling of Antifa front, because if there's American Antifa members that are in communication with any of these groups, which I'm sure they are, even though they say that they're not organized. Oh, they're organized, all right. They're very well organized. So that is going to be quite interesting to see where this ends up going. I know that it definitely gives the federal government a lot more power to go after Antifa, and I'm sure that also extends to the domestic version of Antifa, because, I mean, they've all got the same message. They all have the same mission, and that's just to burn everything down and to get rid of anything and everything that resembles the West, I suppose, or anything that has to do with tradition and capitalism and our nice, cozy lifestyles that we get to enjoy every day. And that's the thing that progressives don't understand. We already live the life like we're in the Jetsons. That's where we are right now. But as far as them wanting to usher in this socialism, communist utopia, it's going to be the exact opposite of anything that they have ever thought that it could ever be. And we've already got examples. I mean, you've already got North Korea, you've got Venezuela, you've got Cuba, you've got a whole bunch of different countries you could look at, and you could see the nightmare that socialism rots. But whatever, we'll just keep fighting against it. And the federal government, they're going after Antifa, so that's a hell of a good milestone. Anyway, so going to move on to the White House. Following a roundtable on the threats posed by the radical group Antifa, the Trump administration has officially designated four Antifa groups as a foreign terrorist organization, so not quite moving on just yet. These groups have spread chaos across the globe. This administration will continue to expose and dismantle their international terror networks. And that was what was it specifically, Antifa? This the meeting that they held, that was about a month ago when Trump and his cabinet, they got together. It wasn't the entire cabinet. It was basically just like the law enforcement, Department of Justice. I believe intelligence was there. Tulsi Gabbard, she was at this meeting. But yeah, it was a meeting specially designed. Oh yeah, Andy Ngo was there. There were other journalists that were there, people that were they had a lot of good knowledge as far as Antifa goes. But yeah, Andy Ngo, he's the day-to-day guru when it comes to Antifa. He knows everything about him. He's written books about him and everything. All right, so I got this from U.S. Senator John Fetterman. Statement from Senator Fetterman's spokesperson. Quote, during an early morning walk, Senator Fetterman sustained a fall near his home in Braddock. Out of an abundance of caution, he was transported to a hospital in Pittsburgh. Upon evaluation, it was established he had a ventricular fibrillation flare-up that led to Senator Fetterman feeling lightheaded, falling to the ground, and hitting his face with minor injuries. Senator Fetterman had this to say, quote, if you thought my face looked bad before, wait until you see it now, end quote. He is doing well and receiving routine observation at the hospital. He has opted to stay so doctors can fine-tune his medication regimen. Senator Fetterman is grateful for the EMTs, doctors, and nurses who are providing his care, end quote. So yeah, hopefully he'll get out of the hospital soon. Hopefully he'll be all right. I mean, he's like literally the only based Democrat that the Democrats have left at this point. All right. So Department of State, anarchist militants have waged terror campaigns in the United States and Europe, conspiring to undermine the foundations of Western civilization through their brutal attacks. Oh yeah, see, this is Antifa again. I actually put this in the wrong spot. The State Department will designate these four Antifa groups as foreign terrorist organizations. Didn't I already read that, though? Where was that? Oh, okay. That's what I did. It was actually tagged by Tommy Pigot. And that's why, so I could just move on from there. U.S. Attorney Habba, I will not be intimidated by radical lunatics for doing my job. Last night, from AG Pam Bondi, last night an individual attempted to confront one of our U.S. attorneys, my dear friend, U.S. Attorney Habba, destroyed property in her office, and then fled the scene. Thankfully, Alina is okay. Any violence or threats of violence against any federal officer will not be tolerated, period. This is unfortunately becoming a trend as radicals continue to attack law enforcement agents around the country. Yep, well, you got to throw the book at them. And I guess from the DOJ's perspective, just ask for the maximum. Anytime they're engaged in this behavior, when they're trying to attack law enforcement or agents or attorneys or any members of the Department of Justice, just keep asking for the maximum. I know it's up to the judge, or it's up to the jury, or it's up to the system, basically, to give them the absolute maximum. But, I mean, they're not going to give it to them unless you're asking for it at the very least. I mean, that's the least the Department of Justice can do. If they're looking at 20 years of prison, recommend 20 years, for crying out loud. And AG Pam Bondi has this also to say: we will find this person and the individual will be brought to justice. Our federal prosecutors, agents, and law enforcement partners put their lives on the line every day to protect the American people, and this department will use every legal tool available to ensure their safety and hold violent offenders fully accountable. And I think that's all we got. Yeah, so there's no articles that are linked, at least not from AG Pam Bondi. Okay, heading to FBI Director Kash Patel, and he says about the same situation: this FBI will lead the hunt against all who threaten our brave public servants like U.S. Attorney Habba. Zero tolerance for these acts of violence. Now, sometimes he'll link something adding to that, but yeah, I'm not seeing that. We got plenty of comments, of course. 8,000% increase in death threats against ICE law enforcement as they risk their lives to remove the worst of the worst, and that's on the Homeland Security website. Let's see, if we don't stop corruption in courtrooms, it doesn't matter what your politics are. Trump attorney Alina Habba, yeah. Nowhere to hide, the eyes will find you. Haven't seen any hunting. Yeah. When will we see some arrests? Postings on X are just not cutting it. Could not agree more. Would love to see this person actually be under arrest by now. Well, I don't know, man. FBI Director Patel says that they're working on it, so I guess we'll be on the lookout. He posted that 6 hours ago. Matter of fact, I would assume if they arrested someone, he probably would post about it. Threaten a U.S. attorney and destroy federal property. Bold move. Doing it to U.S. Attorney Habba. Terrible idea. Lawyer up. We're coming. That's from Todd Blanche, who is the Deputy Attorney General serving under AG Pam Bondi. FBI Dallas. Okay, so that was yesterday. All right, anyway, we'll just move on. I'm sure I'll hear an update. If there is an update, I'm sure I'll hear about it, and I'll be talking about it tomorrow, probably. Okay, U.S. Oh, wait, hold on. All right, yeah, here we are. So, U.S. Department of Justice International. And let's see, they say the Justice Department's Office of International Affairs and the FBI worked with law enforcement partners in France to secure the arrest of Arizona police's second most wanted fugitive, who has been on the run for nearly 14 years following his convictions for dangerous crimes against children. And this is from Scottsdale PD. Wanted fugitive Michael Wiseman has been arrested in France for the 2008 case out of Scottsdale, Arizona, for multiple counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. Wiseman was Scottsdale PD's number 2 most wanted fugitive, and he is also facing new criminal charges in France. His criminal activities and repeated attempts to evade capture span almost 2 decades in multiple countries, and now have come to an end. All right. So this is the news release. Looks like it's a few days old at this point. So, I mean, it's making its way onto X now. So I guess better late than never. But yeah, wanted fugitive Michael Wiseman arrested in France. So anyway, I'm not going to go through all this. So probation violation related to sexual exploitation of a minor, which is no bond. Probation violation related to escape, first degree, no bond. And failure to register as a sex offender, which is a $20,000 bond. So yeah, clearly they're going to hold him without bond. I mean, if they arrested him and then he fled, obviously they gave him bond and then he fled and he's been gone for 14 years. So I would be really surprised if they let him out this time. So it's 4 pages. It's a 4-page report, and I will repost that if you want to check that out. There's a link to my profile in the description if you want to check it out, or you can go to Scottsdale PD. It's at Scottsdale PD. And they posted it, when did they post that? 6:33 p.m. Oh, way back on November 7th. So you might have to scroll down a little bit to find it, but it'll be there if you want to go look for it. And we'll move on to AG Pam Bondi again. Today, the Justice Department sued California governor over his brazen Proposition 50 redistricting power grab. Newsom should be concerned about keeping Californians safe and shutting down Antifa violence, not rigging his state for political gain. Yeah, I have a pretty strong feeling that this whole Prop 50 is not going to hold up. Even if it ends up in the Supreme Court, I highly doubt it's going to hold up because Gavin Newsom's big reason for trying to redistrict California to make it lean even more left, even more toward the Democrats than it already is because, well, they're drawing new congressional maps, and I think they're cheating, so we're just going to blatantly do it over here in California. We're going to wipe every Republican off the map in California, and it's going to be 52 Democrats, 0 Republicans in California, even though it's already been gerrymandered pretty heavily. I guess it's depending on what number you look at. The number that I've seen is that it's about like 25.6 or 26% of people who live in California who are registered to vote. They are registered Republicans. And there's about 20% of people who aren't registered with either party. And then there's like 45% who are registered Democrats. So with about a quarter of the state who are registered Republicans, but yet they only have like 17% representation because there's only, There's 9 Republicans out of 52 who represent districts in California. So it's already been gerrymandered pretty heavily. I mean, of course, there's states even worse than California. I mean, you get like New Mexico. There's like, 30% Republicans, 40% Republicans who live in New Mexico. They have 0 Republican representatives. Absolutely none. And they're not the only state. There's actually a few states like that. Isn't Massachusetts? Isn't Massachusetts one of them? I could be wrong on that, but there might be a Republican Congress member from Massachusetts, but I don't think so. I think Massachusetts was one of those states. I know there's at least a few of them, but yeah, Gavin Newsom wants to make California into one of those states where there's absolutely no Republicans who represent anybody in the state. So yeah, I doubt this is going to hold up. But anyway, I'll read it. Los Angeles, the Justice Department on Thursday sued to block new congressional district boundaries approved by California voters last week, joining a court battle that could help determine which party wins control of the U.S. House in 2026. The complaint filed in California federal court targets the new congressional map pushed by Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom in response to a similar Republican-led effort in Texas backed by President Donald Trump. It sets the stage for a high-stakes legal and political fight between Republican administration and the Democratic governor, who's seen as a likely 2028 presidential contender. Well, doesn't matter if he's trying to contend to run for president or not. What's going on in Texas has nothing to do with what the governor of California is doing. It matters not to him. At least it shouldn't. He should be focused on the people in California, not on DC politics, not on the fucking swamp. He should be focused on California bullshit. I guess it's because he's wrecked California so severely that it has been just absolutely imploded to just utter oblivion that he's just ready to move on to greener pastures so he can turn them all shit brown just like he did with California. All right, so where was I? So the complaint filed in California, I already got over that. So, quote, California's redistricting scheme is a brazen power grab that tramples on civil rights and mocks the democratic process, Attorney General Pam Bondi said in an emailed statement. Governor Newsom's attempt to entrench one-party rule and silence millions of Californians will not stand. Newsom's spokesperson Brandon Richards said in a statement, "These losers lost at the ballot box and soon they will also lose in court." The legal move against heavily Democratic California marks the first time the Justice Department has sued over a flurry of unusual mid-decade House map revisions across the country that were drawn to maximize partisan advantage in advance of next year's elections. 3 Republican-led states, Texas, Missouri, and North Carolina, have not faced federal legal action after revamping district lines following Trump's call for new maps to expand GOP numbers in the House. Civil rights advocates have argued that the new boundaries in Texas and Missouri illegally disadvantage minority communities at the ballot box. Look, I don't know why Trump, the Republican Party, GOP, or whoever you want to talk to about it, I don't know why they're not going after places like New Mexico and getting it drawn more fairly, because look, maybe there's not 700,000 Republicans, and I'm no expert on drawing congressional districts or anything like that. I don't know, it's just something weird about that. Something weird about an entire U.S. state not having a single rep for one political party, despite the fact that there's a sizable percentage who are Republican in that state. That's what bothers me. Like, look, if there's only like 15% of the state who votes, they vote Republican, then yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense that they wouldn't have any. But if it's a sizable percentage, like 30 or 40%, I mean, I don't know, man. I got some questions about that. You'd think that they would too. All right, so, quote, race cannot be used as a proxy to advance political interests, but that is precisely what the California General Assembly did with Proposition 50, the recent ballot initiative that junked California's pre-existing electoral map in favor of a rush mob rejiggering of California's congressional district lines. The lawsuit says Prop 50 was Newsom's response to Trump's maneuvers in Texas, where Republicans rejiggered districts in hopes of picking up 5 seats of their own ahead of the 2026 midterm elections, when House control will be on the line. Democrats need to gain just a handful of seats next year to take control of the chamber, which would imperil Trump's agenda for the remainder of his term and open the way for congressional investigations into his administration. Republicans hold 219 seats to Democrats' 214. The showdown between the nation's 2 most populous states is spread nationally, with Missouri, North Carolina, and Ohio adopting new district lines that could provide a partisan advantage. Other states are considering similar moves. The national implications of California's ballot measure were clear in both the money it attracted and the high-profile figures who became involved. Tens of millions of dollars flowed into the race, including a $5 million donation to opponents from the Congressional Leadership Fund, the Super Political Action Committee tied to House Speaker Mike Johnson. Former Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger opposed it, while former President Barack Obama appeared in ads supporting it, calling it a smart approach to counter Republican moves aimed at safeguarding House control. The contest provided Newsom with a national platform, and he has confirmed he will consider a White House run in 2028. Yeah, no shit. No shit. I think we all know that. We all know that was coming. And, yeah, good luck with that. You know, I mean, like, whoever's running against him, J.D. Vance, whoever that might be, all you got to do is just show footage of California. Just run those all over, or those ads all over TV. And then just throw out just the very obvious, all the bullshit that he's been involved with. I mean, just take cherry pick some of the talking points from the COVID era with regard to Gavin Newsom. Like, dude, you really want to turn, I mean, you don't even really have to do anything as far as that. You could just say, do you really want to make the United States across the country just like California? You really want to go there? The most expensive, probably some of the highest crime rates, like person for person, maybe not. I don't know. Just the cost of living alone is just beyond psychotic, and all the ridiculous regulations. You know that they're banning, I think it starts in the year 2030, gas-powered RVs are illegal to be sold in the state of California. I think it starts in the year 2030. And they're doing the same thing with gas vehicles in general. They're starting with RVs, recreational vehicles. They passed a law banning the sale of recreational vehicles in the state of California. That's how fucking psychotic they are over there. All right, House Republicans. President Trump has officially signed our funding bill into law. Republicans have always been focused on getting our country working again. Make no mistake, this could and should have happened 54 days ago, but Democrats decided to shut down the government. Of course they did, because how did the government get reopened? Did Donald Trump just magically just wave his magic wand last night? No. Of course he had to sign. He had to sign the bill to get the government reopened, but how did it get out of the Senate? The Republicans didn't just will it out of the Senate. No. They actually got 8 Democrat senators to get the bill out of the Senate. That's the only way it was able to get out of the Senate. Ergo, Democrats shut down the government because it required Democrats to get it reopened. From the get-go, shut down, reopened. It stayed shut down until the Democrats finally had enough. And what's so hilarious about this is that they got nothing out of it. They got a big fat zero. The $1.5 trillion that they shut down the government over in the first place, they got not a penny, which I'm applauding Republicans for standing their ground. Finally, they get some balls and they stand their ground. It's about damn time, man. I'm really glad they did that, because I know Democrats, they're not used to Republicans doing that, which is probably why they shut down the government. And then they threw out an absurd number like $1.5 trillion, probably expecting Republicans to come back and say, no, you're not getting $1.5 trillion. That's insane. $700 billion. Okay, done. We'll do that. But thank God Republicans didn't do that, at least not this time. All right, so let's give this a watch. Oh shit, hold on. I got to do my sound. All right, I got the sound back.
It's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working.
Another
again.
big, beautiful bill. No auto pen. All 7 swing states. Gulf of America. All right. Government's back open. Everybody's getting paid again. Make America paid again. Make federal employees paid again. Military's getting their paychecks. Just in time for Thanksgiving. The White House, the longest shutdown driven by Democrats, is finally over. They held America hostage for nothing. Republicans never wanted a shutdown and fought every day to reopen it. Now let's get America back to work. Take a look from the White House.
Days, Democrats in Congress shut down the government of the United States in an attempt to extort American taxpayers.
They did. That was extortion.
They shut down and voted 15 times for a clean continuation of funding. The federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again. And it's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you.
Well, I hope you all are ready for round 2 coming this January. We only got a couple of months till the Democrats are probably going to shut it down again. All right, the federal government is back open and working for the American people, from Tom Emmer, GOP Majority Whip. And he shared that image. And then we're going to move on to Secretary Kristi Noem. I'm pleased to announce that under President Trump, we are giving a $10,000 bonus to TSA officers across our nation who went above and beyond during the Democrats' shutdown. They guaranteed that America wouldn't shut down no matter how badly the Democrats wanted average Americans to feel the pain. Their unsung patriotism deserves recognition. President Trump and I are so grateful for these patriots.
So today we are announcing that we are going to be handing out bonus checks of $10,000 to TSOs, to agents who work for TSA who served with exemplary service. And what that means is that we are going to not only continue their paychecks like they should have received all along, but also they're going to get a bonus check for stepping up, taking on extra shifts, for showing up each and every day, for serving the American people, and taking seriously the mission that the Department of Homeland Security takes seriously and that they take seriously every single day. And that's
so the ones who went above and beyond are getting the $10,000
while
bonuses.
They go and commute across the country, and while they do their work and business and take care of their families. Today we're going to talk about a couple of individuals that did incredible things here at the George Bush Airport, that stepped up and took on extra challenges, extra hours, even though their families were dealing with some difficulties because of the government shutdown. They were examples to the rest of the individuals who worked with them and endured those hardships and continued to shine a light on really what is special about America.
Well, yeah, I mean, they deserve $10,000 checks. Can they give it to them in the form of a tip? That way they don't have to tax it? Probably not, but I mean, it's going to be a really nice Christmas for them, for the ones who stepped up and took extra shifts while other people were calling in, using up their sick day, using up PTO. Air traffic controllers doing the same thing. I know Secretary Sean Duffy, Department of Transportation, he brought that up probably before Kristi Noem. Today was the first time that I heard about TSA getting bonus checks. I know that he's wanting to do that with air traffic controllers, so I'm sure that's probably going to happen too, probably tomorrow. Anyway, so let's give this a quick play. Presenting the checks.
The American people, appreciate it. Ashley, thank you. Yes. And is Leo here? All right, Leo. There.
All right, well, it's a nice moment that we were able to catch live there in Houston, Texas, John, as Kristi Noem hands out those checks to those TSA workers who had to hold it down during the shutdown. So,
yeah, held it down. They did. They held it down. So, yep, handing out $10,000 bonus checks. Speaker Mike Johnson, for 54 days, Democrats voted to shut the government down again and again and again and again, 15 times. Families went hungry, flights were canceled, workers missed paychecks. Republicans never wavered. We stood strong. We told the truth and did what's right for the American people. In the end, that's what God honors always.
I want to thank my friend Chairman Cole's done an extraordinary job in this process. And Mr. Speaker, we all know why we're here. House Democrats voted to shut the government down. It was 54 days ago when we had that vote, September 19th. And since that time, Senate Democrats have voted 14 times to close the government. Republicans voted a collective 15 times to open the government for the people, and the Democrats voted that many times to close it. And then they admitted, many of them, and we could name them here, but I'm not going to take the time, they admitted that they were using the American people as leverage in this political game. They knew that it would cause pain, and they did it anyway. The whole exercise was
like true
pointless.
Democrats.
It was wrong, and it was cruel. In mere moments, I want you to watch the board. They're going to do it again. I'm going to guess for you that most of our Democrat colleagues are going to vote again to close the government, again to take food out of the mouths of families that need it, again to...
Yeah, and he's 100% right. Obviously, this speech was right before they did the vote last night, which was on my episode last night. I was able to watch it live, and that's exactly what happened. Only 5 House Democrats voted to reopen the government. Every last one of them, with the exception of 5, voted to close it again. He is 100% right.
I pay to
well, like 98%
again to stall
right.
flights and cancel airlines and do all the rest that they've done. But we are not going to let them succeed in that gambit. And that's right. While the Democrats keep voting to shut their government down, Republicans are going to vote to open it back up. And with that, we're going to get the American government running again and working for the people as they deserve.
Exactly what this vote is.
I'm going to close with this. You know, as Speaker, you have the ability to talk as long as you want, but I'm not going to do that tonight. We're not going to waste any more time of the people.
I mean, look, even C-SPAN, they're even wording it this way. Vote to reopen government after this debate. Reopen and fund government through January 30th. So even C-SPAN is even revealing the truth.
I'm just going to say this. I think that everybody needs to remember this one simple thing. From the very beginning of this whole ordeal, on the Republican side, we operated in good faith. We offered a clean, nonpartisan CR. We were honest and transparent with the American people from the very beginning, and every single day of the shutdown, we went out and looked right into the camera with a press conference and told the American people the simple truth. We have done for the people what has been right and just and truthful. And in the end, that is what God honors always. Don't forget it. We need to get this government open as soon as possible, and I'm going to yield back the remainder of my time so we can do that. The American people demand it and deserve it. My friends, let's get this done. Thank you. I yield back.
All right, get back to work. And it went to President Trump's desk, obviously. We already saw that happen. So this comes from Hakeem Jeffries from last night. The Republican spending bill failed to address the cost of living crisis or extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. That's why House Democrats strongly oppose it.
Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency.
Same stupid talking point.
Donald Trump and Republicans made the decision to shut the government down.
Well, then why did you vote to shut the government down literally last night? Like minutes after he did this speech, just like Speaker Mike Johnson said, he and all but 5 voted to shut down the government again.
Longest shutdown in American history. Would rather
because they're low IQ propagandists
than provide health care that's affordable to working class Americans, middle class Americans, and hardworking
not affordable.
American.
If it needs subsidized, it's a failure.
Republicans control the House.
That's just the simple truth of it. They want to subsidize it forever and ever, and of course, it got a brutal ratio, 2-to-1 basically, 1,300 likes, 2,300 comments, probably the most ratioed account on the entire X platform. Actually, Chuck Schumer might actually be more ratioed than Hakeem Jeffries, actually, because he posts more often. All right, Senate Republicans, Democrats hearing the government is back open. Oh, here's that sound. The sound that it's open.
First time ever anywhere, the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald.
Of course, the wonderful, spectacular news that Donald Trump won in 2016. That's where that came from. GOP, LMAO emojis. The DNC ordered workers back to the office. Its union isn't pleased. Thumbs down emojis flowed on screen as Washington area employees learned they would have to show up 5 days a week. Their union called the move callous. God forbid they have to get back to work. I know, they wanted to do COVID all over again. All right, Caroline Levitt. She's the White House press secretary. The notion that the same radical Democrats who just shut down the federal government, sabotaged our economy, robbed people of their paychecks, and also helped Joe Biden ratchet up inflation to 9%, suddenly are now affordability champions is completely absurd. And it's something only the liberal media would have the gall to claim. Here are the facts. President Trump and his administration have done a lot to lower prices and increase the economy or the economic prosperity of the American people in less than 10 short months. President Trump signed the largest middle-class tax cuts in history, including no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security to guarantee that Americans keep more of their hard-earned money. You know, a little pushback on that. They had to raise the national deficit in order to give the tax cuts, which I ain't that happy about at all. All right, the president unleashed American energy dominance to help bring gasoline prices to the lowest in 5 years and also lower energy costs overall. This is key because we know energy costs are the number one driver of inflation, and that is the case in my state of Florida. Gas prices, last I checked, they were like a low 270 range, like 271 or something like that. It actually might be lower now because it's been a week or so since I've checked it. And next, to lower prescription drug prices and overall healthcare costs. President Trump already negotiated most favored nation pricing agreements with 5 big pharma companies, and that would be TrumpRx.gov. Not sure if that's on there yet. Let me take a look. TrumpRx.gov. They're supposed to be putting the pricing up. Not sure if they're ready for it yet or not. Coming soon. Okay, so it's not quite ready yet. They're putting together a big list of different pharmaceutical drugs and the prices and everything, and they said they're going to be putting the whole list right here on this website. So we'll just have to wait and see. The next one, to fuel small businesses, lower their costs, and incentivize hiring. The Trump administration has already cut 30 unnecessary regulations for every new one on the books. And all of these pro-growth Trump policies are working. Wages are rising at the fastest pace of the start of wages are rising at the fastest pace of the start of a presidential administration in 60 years. The cost of the typical new mortgage is down by nearly $3,000 a year. Yeah, it's still insanely high, but not Trump's fault. That got absolutely insane through Biden. Not sure if I'd really put any of that on Trump in 2020. Honestly, I'm not prepared to be able to say that definitively. I don't think that housing got out of control in 2020. I think it really started to go out of control in 2021, but I might be wrong on that. I could be wrong. I know housing started to get a lot more expensive where I live because we opened up relatively early. We started opening back up after the COVID shutdown, I think in like May of 2020. So by the end of 2020, it was getting more expensive, but that's state level shit. All right, and there's much more work to do, but President Trump has made great progress in cleaning up economic disaster created by Joe Biden and the Democrats. Well, yeah, there's no doubt about that at all.
I want to address the affordability issue that's received a great deal of media attention this past week, which is ironic because it didn't receive that much attention when Joe Biden was here and inflation was at a record high 9%,
they never talked about
the worst inflation crisis in modern American history.
Probably
and
since the
Trump
70s,
won
right?
A landslide election in part to address the affordability issues created by Joe Biden and the Democrats. And that's exactly what President Trump has done since day one of his administration. Since the first day in office and every day since, the Trump administration has taken aggressive action to fix the Biden-created cost of living issues. The notion that the same Democrats who just shut down the federal government to sabotage our economy, rob people of their paychecks, and also helped Joe Biden ratchet up inflation to 9.
Now, look, if I'll push back against Trump as far as the inflation thing goes, not saying that it's all under Trump with regard to inflation. However, some of it was underneath Trump in 2020, especially when they were cutting those COVID checks. The first one was $1,200 for every working American. That definitely contributed to inflation. And I can't remember if the second round was still under Trump or if Biden was in by then, but I think the second round was like, $600? And then the third round was it another $600 or was it $500? But the big one was under Trump for $1,200. I was really pissed off to hear that was happening. And I mean, I worked throughout the entirety of COVID, so I was eligible for it. I got it. Wasn't happy about it because I didn't want it to go out to anybody because I knew what it was going to do. Inflation. It was going to jack up inflation. So I'm not going to say that Trump is completely innocent in the whole inflation game. He definitely plays a part in it. And if I'm going to point to anything, that's what I'm going to point to. The fact that everybody was getting over $1,000 each, and married couples, they both got it, didn't they? Like, that was $2,400 I guess if both were working, like if you and, your spouse or living boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, like you both each got one of those checks. And that definitely started driving up inflation pretty quick.
10% are now suddenly affordability champions. That notion is completely absurd. And it's something only the liberal media would have the gall to push. But the reality is that President Trump and his administration have done so much to lower prices and increase the economic prosperity of the American people. And this president and his team of amazing economic advisors are going to keep working on this issue every single day. In less than 10 short months, President Trump signed the largest middle-class tax cuts in American history, including no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security, which will guarantee that next year Americans are going to put more money back into their pockets. The president has completely unleashed American energy dominance to help bring gasoline prices to the lowest in 5 years, and we expect them to continue to decrease. And it has also lowered energy costs overall. There is more work to do, but again, the president's deregulatory
they're getting rid of that renewable energy bullshit too.
Agenda is absolutely going to continue to drive down prices. This formula worked in the president's first term, and we expect that it's going to work again. And this is key because we know energy costs are the #1 driver of inflation. Again, just look at what Joe Biden did to our energy industry over the past 4 years of his administration, and look at what happened to inflation as a result. Everything became more expensive.
That certainly played a part.
To lower prescription drug prices and healthcare costs, the president has been working around the clock on this issue. He is obsessed with negotiating these good deals on behalf of the American people to bring down pharmaceutical costs and drug costs for Americans. And he has done so on a number of fronts. You have seen him discuss that in the Oval Office several times. To fuel small businesses, lower their costs, and incentivize hiring, the Trump administration has already cut 30 unnecessary regulations for every new one on the books, which we know will save employers and small businesses across the country thousands of dollars in regulatory burdens. All of these pro-Trump policies are working, and they will continue to work. Wages are rising at the fastest pace of the start of a presidential administration in 60 years. The cost of the typical new mortgage is down by nearly $3,000 per year. There's much work to do, and this administration will continue to do it. But President Trump has already made great progress in cleaning up the economic disaster that was created by Joe Biden.
Well, especially with housing. There's a lot to figure out with housing. And, renewable energy, that's never going to drive down costs at all. It's always going to be far more expensive if they keep rolling out renewable energy. Trying to get the entire country to run on batteries. It's absolutely psychotic. All right, the White House. President Trump signs bill to officially reopen the government. So we already saw this. I don't know if maybe it's just a different clip, but I guess I'll give it a go. Why not? It's already here.
The country has never been in better shape. We went through this short-term disaster with the Democrats because they thought it would be good politically. And it's an honor now to sign this.
Obviously, it's not because they voted to reopen it finally.
And get our country working again. Thank you.
Good. House Democrats didn't. All right, so we got that. I don't think there's anything extra beyond his signing that we're going to see in the other 30 seconds. All right, U.S. Department of Education government shutdown is over and we're back. But let's be honest, did you really miss us at all? No, not really. Not
okay, guys, we're back. Did you miss us? Because we missed you.
All right. Anyway, U.S. Embassy Jamaica. Senior official Jeremy Lewin visited Jamaica this week, joining Southcom Joint Task Force Bravo in Black River, St. Elizabeth. There, he met with our NGO partners and saw how U.S. assistance is helping communities recover from Hurricane Melissa. The United States is providing $22 million in life-saving humanitarian relief. As so, Lewin said to PM Andrew Holness, JM, we'll be here tomorrow, next month, and for every stage of this recovery. And he is Prime Minister of Jamaica. All right, got it. So we got a video. Let's check out the video.
Well, Jamaica's been a long-standing partner. We're here in Black River, Jamaica, which is just about 500 miles from Florida, where the Secretary of State and I am from. And as the Secretary and President have said, it's so important that we stand with our partners and help them recover from this act of God. Being here, the devastation is it's really heartbreaking. But our teams were first on the ground, and have delivered really a first-class response. All of the organs of government working together under the banner of the Department of State. Through our new America First foreign assistance model, we're able to get here first. We're able to leverage Department of War assets, the Marine Expeditionary Unit that's in the Caribbean, Joint Task Force Bravo in Honduras. They were able to come here with heavy lift helicopters. So far, they've already moved over 500,000 pounds of life-saving aid. We're able to work with partners like Samaritan's Purse and Reverend Graham's charity, which is able to get a full field hospital that I just saw, up and running in 48 hours, and then ultimately, transition responsibility to the Jamaican government and the Jamaican people. We're working really closely. We have a strong security partnership with them. But there's a million Jamaican Americans, and millions of Americans come here every single year to visit Jamaica's beautiful beaches. So Jamaica really is so important to our region. When our friends and allies suffer these horrible events, we want to make sure that they know that the United States stands with them in good times and in the bad times. The United States is a partner no matter what comes to Jamaica.
Well, that's good. And there's not USAID to disappear the vast majority of that money. And most likely, if they were to quarterback their relief aid for Jamaica, 185-mile-an-hour winds. That's how strong that hurricane was. Of course, that's a record breaker for Jamaica, for the strongest hurricane ever to hit the island in recorded history. And the strongest one, I think it was in 1988. But this hurricane, the winds were 55 miles an hour stronger than the one that was already on the record books. So yeah, so that's good that they're getting aid, and it's going directly to them, and it's not going through this bureaucratic nightmare that they call USAID. All right, Senator John Husted, I want to make life more affordable for Ohioans. That starts by driving down healthcare costs and letting working families keep more of what they earn.
Well, the Democrats have been taken over by the radical left.
That was loud. Sorry about that.
I care about affordability too. I care about the fact that since Obamacare was put in place, healthcare inflation has been the #1 driver of inflation in this country. And the Democrats put that in place, not Republicans. The fact that healthcare is unaffordable is a complete and total ownership for the Democrats
100%.
in this country.
100%.
It's their policies that created it. However, I think Republicans have the opportunity
except by the Democrats.
to say, you know what, we want to make healthcare more affordable. We want to empower consumers. We want to stop sending payments directly to insurance companies and give consumers the ability to shop for their healthcare and drive down the cost. And by the way, eliminate all the fraud that we know is in the system that Democrats allowed to have that happen.
Well, that's why they cut so much of Medicaid. That's why they cut Medicaid by what was like 200 something billion dollars, because they were able to discover, I think a lot of it was through the work of Doge, if I'm not mistaken, and they were able to discover a shitload, man. It was rife with fraud and waste and abuse and all that, and they were able to cut all that out, at least as much as they had discovered at that point, and now they don't have to fund the fraudulent money for the next however long that was, like 10 years or something like that it was going to be funded for. And that's why that they were able to reduce it by that much. But Democrats, they'll tell you, well, no, it's like they kicked 17 million Americans off of Medicaid. They're forcing people out of insurance because they're just bad. And
I think it's an opportunity for Republicans right now to say, hey, we're responsible.
Fake Democrats.
By the way, we also gave working families the largest tax cut they've ever had in American history, eliminated taxes on tips and overtime, cut taxes on Social Security. So we're letting people keep more of what they earn. We're going to attack the bad policies that Democrats put in place with Obamacare, show that there's a pathway forward to make things more affordable, open up. One of the things you see that have dramatically gone down since last year are gas prices, because we eliminated all the Biden era prohibitions on drilling and so forth on energy. So we're making our case, and we will be successful.
All right. Well, yeah, man, God willing. And plus, Secretary Kennedy, he's also working on Make America Healthy Again. I think if Americans start losing weight, that's really going to solve a lot of the healthcare industry skyrocketing costs, at least in the long term. I mean, it's not going to fix it overnight by doing that solely, but also getting rid of all the artificial food dyes and also getting added sugars off of SNAP benefits, which should have never been implemented in the first place. They haven't done that on the national scale, but there are states, there's several states, if not dozens at this point, who they've already passed laws to remove any kind of junk food, anything with added sugars, off of the list of approved SNAP food items. Which, if you want to see how insane that it really is as to what you can buy with SNAP benefits, there's a section on Amazon. You can go on Amazon and you can go to a section for SNAP eligible items on Amazon, and it's insane. You could buy chewing gum with SNAP benefits. I'm not kidding. I saw it with my own two eyes. It's absolutely crazy. All right, U.S. Department of the Interior, we're back, America, and it's because the account. Well, of course they had to furlough a ton of their workers, but I believe this account was also inactive for the entirety of the shutdown. So the account's back. Today, our full workforce is back, advancing stewardship, powering America's energy future, and carrying forward the story of our nation. We're honored to continue this work for our country. And it's just an image, no video, it's just an image. And we'll move on to Caroline Leavitt again, White House press secretary. So this is a figure of the size of the foreign-born population fluctuation. It grew dramatically after January of 2021, but since January of this year, it has declined by 2.2 million because they are getting illegal immigrants out of the country. And speaking of which, check this out. More than 2 million illegal migrants have deported since January. It was 1.6 million, although that was the self-deportation number. This may include the number that ICE has also deported. So that could be the totality of it. And this is from the Department of Homeland Security. So I'll take that as an official number. Plus, it's coming directly from the White House, too. But anyway, so this is, like it said, from 2021 up through August of 2025. And yeah, clearly it's in decline. So we'll see where that goes. All right, Watley War Room, quote, "It was the Democrats' shutdown. They're very upset that it has ended. They want to continue to keep fighting on this. It's amazing because the Democrats have no agenda other than to oppose Trump and oppose the American people." Yeah, the X platform was jerking me around this evening. It was it was causing problems with me being able to organize it, because before I start the show every night, I go through all the material, all the content that I put together, I bookmark everything, and then after I'm done finding whatever it is that I want to find to talk about, I organize everything. I try to put all the shutdown related stuff together, the crime stuff, the immigration stuff. Like, I try to organize it as best as I can. But tonight it was really messing around with me and it was giving me problems. So that's why things are kind of jumbled up tonight. So hopefully it'll be back to normal tomorrow. So anyway, let's give this a quick watch. It's only 19 seconds.
When you think about it, the meltdown that we saw on the floor yesterday from the Democrats over the end of the shutdown.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're freaking out.
Shows you
it was
whose
hilarious.
shutdown it was. It was their shutdown. They're very upset that it has been, ended.
Yeah, it's a party in chaos. No wonder they're gaslighting so much.
It's amazing because the Democrats have no agenda other
None.
than oppose
Yeah, they really
Trump
don't.
and oppose the American people.
Yep. Stop Trump, oppose the American people. Basically just do the complete opposite of anything and everything that Trump says and does. That's the only agenda that the Democrats have. And if you peel away the onion layers, really it all just boils down to just jacking up taxes and passing a bunch of entitlement bullshit. That's really what they're all about. Senate Republicans, the average Obamacare enrollees premiums have risen by 221% from 2013 to 2025. Obamacare was never affordable. Nope, never was. And by the way, with them saying that, oh, your premiums are going to skyrocket, everything's just going to double. It's going to go up 3x, 4x, 5x. Chuck Schumer even said some middle-class Americans, their policies are going to go up $20,000. Those were the numbers Democrats were throwing out. That's assuming that Biden's tax credits don't get passed, which they're not. They're not getting passed, at least not right now. So this 221% figure, that is just from 2013, basically when Obamacare first was implemented up until now. So didn't get any Republicans to vote for it. They didn't vote for Obamacare when it initially passed. And as my understanding goes, is that they haven't voted, not a single Republican has voted for any of the subsidies that have occurred with Obamacare ever since Obamacare was first passed. But it also wouldn't shock me at all if they had to pass subsidies ever since its inception, because it's been a failure since it first started. All right, so Dr. Oz, CMS, we've got to find a way to bring down the total cost of care. Reducing obesity in America not only buys us a lot of health, but it also reduces the healthcare spend.
So we've got to find a way of actually bringing the real costs down, not just throwing money at it to reduce what consumers pay, but actually bringing down total cost of
get
care.
Americans
and
healthy.
If you're going to
Gotta get
drop
healthy.
drug prices meaningfully, you'll do that. But in particular, in this category.
Well, yeah, that helps
because
too.
of all the things we can do, Joe, reducing obesity in America not only buys us a lot of health, but it also reduces the healthcare spend. We estimate that obesity by itself probably explains a quarter of the total healthcare costs.
Oh shit, dude, probably more than that. It probably even accounts for even more than that. With all the side effects that come along with being obese, especially if you've been obese since a young age. I mean, it just absolutely just destroys your body. It destroys everything. It rips up your joints. I mean, it just wrecks your body completely. Morbid obesity. All right, GOP, low IQ Jasmine Crockett versus lower IQ Jasmine Crockett. 1 month ago, Republicans controlled the Senate. This shutdown is on them. Yesterday, you need 60 votes in the Senate to pass a funding bill. Ain't that interesting?
And, you know, Republicans don't know how to count. But here's the thing. You know, when you're in a legislative body, you control everything. So if the government shuts down, it's on y'all.
The Senate, they have the filibuster, which means that they have to get a total of 60 votes. We saw the 8 Democrats made sure that they could get over the filibuster. In the House, it's a simple majority.
Yeah, so that means that the Democrats, they shut down the government. Duh. All right, DARPA. So this comes from DARPA, the DARPA Lift Challenge. Oh, by the way, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. They're offering $6.5 million in prizes to innovators across America who design drones that can carry payloads 4 times the drone's weight, unlocking new possibilities for military and civilian applications. Registration begins in January of 2026. Now, do they link the link for the registration? I would think that they are. Well, if it'll ever load. All right, yeah, they do. So I'll link that in the description if you're curious as far as that goes. If you're all into drones, drone technology, I mean, that's a lot of money you could be eligible for if you build a badass enough drone that can carry a lot of weight. NASA Solar System, NASA's Escapade mission, our next science mission to Mars, has a new launch date today. The launch window opens at 2:57 p.m. Eastern Time. Yesterday's launch attempt was postponed due to the intense geomagnetic storm that rocked our planet. Learn more at go.nasa.gov. All right, so I'm going to nerd out for a few minutes because I'm a big astronomy nut, and yeah, I got to see this. Well, and plus, it's swamp related. It's NASA. NASA, it's a government agency. So, all right, we'll just take a look at this and see what this is all about.
Mars.
And I do have the launch. The launch did.
By
the way, the launch did happen today. It actually did happen. So,
watery world with a thick atmosphere. Now, a cold, arid landscape with its atmosphere thinned out. What caused this transformation? Over billions of years,
Mars
a
is too small.
relentless flow of
Couldn't hang on to
particles
its
from the
atmosphere.
sun, the solar wind, has slowly stripped away the Martian
of course,
atmosphere,
the solar wind too.
causing surface water to evaporate. But how exactly did this happen?
And Mars didn't have a strong enough magnetosphere to fight the solar wind. Plus, they don't believe that Mars had tectonic plates that contribute to magnetism.
And how could it affect future Mars explorers?
Geomagnetism, whatever.
NASA's new Escapade mission aims to find out. The Escape and Plasma Acceleration and Dynamics Explorers mission is studying the planet's real-time response to the solar wind, helping us understand Mars's climate history using 2 spacecraft in orbit for the first time.
Past missions that we've sent to Mars to understand the interaction of the solar wind with the planet have only been single spacecraft missions. So Escapade gives us what you might call a stereo perspective.
Okay, well, at least we got a rough idea.
2 different vantage points simultaneously. This will allow us to really make measurements we've never made before and to characterize the system in a way we couldn't characterize it before.
Escapade's twin spacecraft fly in 2 different formations to see how Mars responds to the solar wind in both time and space.
This is the first time that 2 or more spacecraft have worked out a formation in orbit about another planet, in this case Mars.
In the first formation, nicknamed the String of Pearls, the 2 spacecraft chase each other in nearly identical, highly elongated orbits. This allows Escapade to observe rapid changes in the Martian atmosphere caused by sudden variations in the solar wind.
When we have 2 spacecraft crossing those regions in quick succession, we can monitor how those regions vary on timescales as short as 2 minutes up to 30 minutes, before we had to wait for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours.
In the second formation, the spacecraft have different orbits that are more separated from each other, allowing Escapade to study both the solar wind and the upper atmosphere of Mars simultaneously for the very first time.
We'll have one spacecraft in the solar wind so we can measure what's coming in, and then one spacecraft closer to Mars. This will help us understand the cause and effect of what's happening when space weather comes to Mars.
Escapade will not only fill gaps in the story of how Mars's atmosphere changed, it will also help us prepare to send human explorers to the red planet.
Absolutely.
For
That's
example,
the point, in case you
Escapade will
wondered.
give scientists more details about Mars's ionosphere, a part of the upper atmosphere that future astronauts will rely on to send radio and navigation signals around the planet.
Understanding how that ionosphere varies will be a really important part of understanding how to correct the distortions in those radio signals that we will need to communicate with each other and to navigate on Mars.
All right, well, I didn't think about
Escapade's
that.
work could also help keep future Mars explorers safe.
Atmospheres can provide a shield to protect humans and other assets on the surface from things like solar radiation or intergalactic radiation. So it's important for us to understand how the atmosphere is changing in order for us to know what we have to do to protect humans
she was at that Turning Point
other
protest.
assets we might put on the surface.
In addition to new science, Escapade is pioneering a new way to reach Mars. Previously, spacecraft launching to the red planet had to wait years for Earth and Mars to line up. However, Escapade is launching into a unique orbit that loops around a region in space known as L2, roughly 1 million miles away. Then, it'll return and use Earth's gravity to slingshot itself to Mars. This allows Escapade to launch early and wait in space until the two planets are in the right positions. This first-of-its-kind orbit will also make Escapade the only spacecraft to ever pass through a distant part of Earth's magnetotail, before beginning its 10-month cruise to Mars and starting its cutting-edge work there.
NASA's heliophysics fleet is looking at the sun's influence, and with Escapade, we'll now have multi-point measurements at Mars, which will help us have a more comprehensive picture of what's happening throughout the solar system. We need a solar system-wide understanding of space weather in order to protect our technology and our astronauts wherever they go.
Got to protect them astronauts. That's what you got to do. That's what this is all about. Because if there's a strong solar storm that's heading toward Mars and the astronauts are up there on the surface, they could get hit with a ton of radiation, and that ain't good. All right, so I've got the launch. So this is the launch. This happened today. Let's see, it streamed 5 hours ago. And it's on Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos' space company. So it looks like SpaceX might have some competition after all.
Minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Let me full screen it. Let's full screen this.
2, 1.
Yeah, y'all are behind, man. Oh, okay, maybe not. Maybe it's the clock that's behind.
Cleared the tower. Pushing 7 good engines. 30 seconds into flight.
I'm assuming this is probably Blue Origin's first NASA mission, perhaps. Carrying a payload from NASA. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I don't even know. But I thought that Blue Origin was still just like a glorified, ride. They take you up and then you come back down.
And we have Miko. And we have good stage set. And we have ignition on stage 2. Both engine parameters look good.
Oh, you see the 2 rows?
Body rate stamping out nicely. Both BTU engines look good at the high thrust set point. Body rate responses look good. 3 minutes, 43 seconds into flight.
Look at that view.
And it froze.
We have good indication of payload fairing jettison. Both B-3U engines continue to look good. Body rate response.
Damn, dude, those cameras are impressive.
Body rates on GS1.
That looks great. We have our booster reentry burn.
Yeah, so that, of course they took a page out of SpaceX's playbook.
All 3 engines.
By getting the booster to return.
What happens next? We have had a good day. This is further than we made it on NG1.
That's right.
See indication.
So this is a first.
Engine
Sounds
ignition on
like.
GS1. Continue to see good data from
I
GS1.
assume that they've done all this, with trial and error.
About a minute and a half
Engine parameters look good.
is when we would see.
Confirm engine cutoff.
Never tell me the odds.
Okay, yeah, here we go.
We've got our booster landing burn.
Engine control looks good.
Of course those clouds are there.
8 minutes, 43 seconds. Legs deployed. Countdown to
Great shot from our booster.
Standing by.
Camera's already cutting out. It's like Temu SpaceX. This is like SpaceX like 10 years ago, where the cameras keep cutting out. It looks like they got that one to work. And one thing I did learn about this whole process with the whole camera on the drone ship is that it's a satellite link between the camera and the receiver that's not on the drone ship. And when the boosters come in to land on the drone ship, it's vibrating like crazy, which it interrupts the direct signal to the satellite, and that's why the feed cuts out like it does. But SpaceX, they figured that out. I don't think it cuts out anymore. At least the last time I saw it, I don't believe that the feed's cutting out anymore like it used to. It used to do that every single time, and then it was explained that that's why the feed cuts out, because it's the drone ship is vibrating, it's moving around, and it's interrupting the direct signal up to the satellite that's sending the video feed. All right, so yeah, that happened. A big milestone for Blue Origin. Not sure if they're going to catch up to SpaceX, but they're in business. I'm sure that they got a pretty big, hefty contract from NASA to send that up. All right, so moving on to U.S. National Archives. The National Archives Museum and Research Rooms in both Washington, D.C. and College Park, Maryland have officially reopened. Normal business hours will resume beginning tomorrow, November 14th. Please check archives.gov for updates. We look forward to seeing you. So that's back open. I'm assuming the Smithsonian Museum, they were probably closed. I don't know. I'm not 100% for sure on that. I'm assuming that it is, but all of the tourist attractions, they're all going to be opened back up again. And this is Rapid Response 47 from the president. This afternoon, I'm delighted to sign a historic executive order to make America's foster care system better, fairer, and more effective than ever before. All of this has been made possible by the First Lady. Incredible devotion to America's youth.
This afternoon, I'm delighted to sign a historic executive order building on the Fostering the Future initiative to make America's foster care system better, fairer, and more effective than ever before. And it's been effective, but it's moving in a very strong direction. All of this has been made possible by Melania's incredible devotion to America's youth. This afternoon, I'm delighted to sign a historic...
All right, was that it? Yeah, that was that. So yeah, that happened. And also President Trump and the First Lady, they stopped by and they listened to the United States Marine Band. And that, I'm assuming, is in the White House. That's a busy ass job. That'd be cool to be president. Not that I would ever want to be president, but just constant stuff just going on constantly. But there's the U.S. Marine Corps. They got a band playing in the next room. Let's go check it out. All right, Ron DeSantis, Governor Ron DeSantis, my governor, Operation Criminal Return has successfully removed 230 criminal aliens, many of whom were sexual predators, off the streets. The joint operation between FDLE and ICE demonstrates the positive results of our state-federal collaboration on interior enforcement efforts. And I left a comment just as a reminder. I think it was ICE. Yeah, so this was reposted by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So I wanted to make a note to self because it's not strictly speaking the swamp if it's, down on the state level, but it was Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Anytime that I bring up something that's like state level or local level, it's always reposted by some federal entity in one form or fashion or another. Let's take a look at this.
I'm pleased to announce the successful completion of Operation Criminal Return. This was a joint operation between ICE as well as the state of Florida, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. We nabbed 230 criminal illegal aliens off the street. Some of these guys had committed offenses against children, sexual predators. These were people that under the Biden administration, they were
we got death penalty for sexual predators in Florida now.
Of serious deportation. The times have changed. We have tremendous momentum in the state of Florida because of our leadership on being the #1 state to support the Trump administration's policies to take illegal aliens who are in our country, remove them, and send them back to their home country. So I want to thank everybody that's been involved with this. The state of Florida is leading. We're showing what can be done when you work collaboratively with the federal government on an issue that's very, very important to so many people, not just here in Florida, but throughout the United States.
Hell yeah. Epic win. See, that's how you do it, Illinois. That's how you get it done. You get them out of your state. You don't harbor them. You don't protect them. You don't put them before your own citizens, before your own residents, your own constituents. House Democrats, $40 billion for Argentina, $2 billion for a name change, $300 million for a ballroom. Trump and Republicans can find money for everything except for the health and economic well-being of the American people. And what did they get? 266 to 80. That is not a ratio, my friends. That is not. Argentina money is a currency swap. America profits. Department of War, probably fake numbers. Ballroom, $0 tax money. Seems that Democrats are physically incapable of dispensing a single character of honesty. So this is from NBCnews.com. That's at least what they reposted. Trump's Pentagon name change could cost up to $2 billion. So you see how they frame that? It could cost. So if they could put the word could in there, you could change this to $2 billion, or you could change it to 3, you could change it to 10, you could change it to 50. But in reality, it might cost like $150,000 worth of changing signs and changing like entryway signs and I don't know, like having to reprint, tourist maps or some shit, like whatever it is that they have to do. They have to change it from Department of Defense to Department of War. $2 billion, it sounds a bit insane to me. I highly doubt it's going to cost that much, but I mean, we are talking the federal government here. I mean, it's like how much do they spend on a light fixture? Just a standard, like a sconce, probably costs like $75,000. Like the Fed, it costs like, what are they up to now? Like $2 or $4 billion just for renovating the Fed, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. It should be just a blank ass white wall building on the inside with just absolutely no features whatsoever. All right. Anyway, President Trump's directive to change the name of the Department of Defense to Department of War could cost as much as $2 billion, according to 6 people with knowledge of the potential cost. Well, who is that? The name change, I mean, like, do they actually give us the names? Probably not. I mean, this is NBC News. The name change, which must be approved by Congress, would require replacing thousands of signs, placards, letterheads, and badges, as well as any other items at U.S. military sites around the world that feature the Department of Defense's name, according to 2 senior Republican congressional staffers, 2 senior Democratic congressional staffers, and 2 other people briefed on the potential cost. So keep in mind that Republicans, they control the House. So why aren't they going to get this pushed through? And is it because it'll just get held up in the Senate with 60 votes? Regardless, they should at least get it passed through the House. And that's one of the frustrating things, in my opinion, with regard to Republicans and their control of Congress, because they don't really seem to do a whole lot. I mean, like, Trump is obviously signaling to them, hey, we're trying to change the Department of Defense to the Department of War. You know, you'd think that the Republicans would put something on the floor, but maybe they are. Maybe they are working on something. I haven't seen that they are, but maybe they were working on something until the Democrats shut down the government. So we might actually see some movement with that. I mean, otherwise, like, what's the point? Unless the House Republicans, at the very least, are on board with changing it. Otherwise, what's the point in even, replacing the signs and all that, which they are doing. They did replace the sign or the signage. So, yeah, it must be approved by Congress, replacing all the signs and everything. New department letterhead and signage alone could cost about $1 billion, according to 4 senior congressional staffers and one of the people briefed on the potential cost. One of the biggest contributors to the cost changing the name would be rewriting digital code for all the department's internal and external facing websites. No, give me a break. As well as other computer software on classified and unclassified systems, the 4 senior congressional staffers said. I would ask Elon Musk about that. Maybe Elon Musk isn't an expert on the coding. He probably is. I would highly doubt that it's going to actually cost that amount of money to go through. But what do I know? I don't know. So anyway, that'll be linked below if you want to check that out. Department of War Rapid Response. Speaking of which, here it is. Pete Hegseth, he's changing it himself. He's screwing it right onto the wall. Department of War. $2 billion. It was a $2 billion sign. All right. And oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to scroll down. That's all right. I'll find my place. All right, where are we? Oh man, I'm way further down than here. At least I think so. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. All right, so Rapid Response 47 from Vice President Vance. A lot of young people are saying housing is way too expensive. Why is that? Because we flooded the country with 30 million illegal immigrants who are taking houses that ought by right go to American citizens. That's an element of it for sure. What we're doing is trying to make it easier to build houses. We're also getting all of those illegal aliens out of our country. I'm sure some of them may have taken out mortgages, obviously in sanctuary states, it'd be a lot easier for them to do so. I think by getting the illegal immigrants out of the country, that's going to be a huge relief for the rental market, because I bet the vast majority of them are renting and they all got to live somewhere. They're all living somewhere. So yeah, it might help alleviate a little bit of the housing costs. I don't really think it's going to help all that much. I don't know, man. I don't have the answers for the housing market issue. I know that dropping the interest rates probably isn't going to help anything.
I know that there are a lot of
wants.
people out there, Sean, who are saying things are expensive. And we have to remember they're expensive because we inherited this terrible inflation crisis from the Biden administration. But you've already seen signs that things are getting better. The price of eggs has gone way down. The price of energy has gone way down. The price of gasoline has gone way down. And as we know, when the price of energy goes down, that starts to filter out into the entire economy, but that also takes a little bit of time. There's another component of this, Sean, which to me is maybe the most important, because I care so much about our young people being able to afford a good life. A lot of young people are saying housing is way too expensive.
It is.
Why is that?
It is.
Because we flooded the country with 30 million illegal immigrants who were taking houses that ought by right go to American citizens. And at the same time, we weren't building enough new houses to begin with, even for the population that we had.
Yeah, like new home construction, it's been low ever since the 2008 crash. When that happened, they haven't been building at the rate that they should have been building all along. I think a lot of that had to do with regulation, but also another problem with new home construction costing as much as it does is because the cost of lumber and all the building materials, which went up like crazy during COVID, because they blamed the supply chain shortage and the lack of the drivers, and everything was on lockdown. And then when the supply was replenished and it got back to where it was from the get-go, they didn't lower the prices. They just wanted to keep charging the same prices that they were charging because, the money was rolling in like crazy. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be difficult to see the housing costs come down in any substantial way unless there's rampant unemployment or tons of foreclosures. I think probably a lot of foreclosures might be still on the horizon just because the rampant credit card debt, just overall consumer debt. Overall consumer debt is absolutely insane. Even like car debt is absolutely out of control. Student loan debt's another big one. That's out of control. So
what we're doing is trying to make it easier to build houses, trying to make it easier to build factories and things like that so that people have good jobs. We're also getting all of those illegal aliens out of our country, and you're already seeing it start to pay some dividends.
And also your household income has to be at least $100,000 a year to qualify for the average priced home today. And a lot of people who own their homes now, they just don't want to sell it for more or for any less than what they see it appraised for or what they see it on Zillow for. So a lot of people are sticking to their guns and they don't want to drop their house because well, I did buy it for $200,000 10 years ago, but now it says it's worth $650,000. I'm not going to come off that $650,000. I deserve it. That's what it says that I deserve, and I deserve it. So yeah, I think a lot of it's going to have to be organic. I mean, it's just going to have to be to the point where everybody's trying to sell the house or their houses, and it just like people just naturally just start competing with their neighbors to drive down the price of their house, and that's probably how it's going to have to end up correcting itself. But yeah, I'm sure illegal immigrants, that's got to be, I'm sure like some portion of it, but I don't think that's the primary driver at all as to why they've gone up so much. All right, Senate Republicans, it is estimated that in 2024, insurance companies were sent more than $40 billion in subsidies for people that received no health care. Democrats closed the government because they want to continue handing out Biden COVID bonuses to insurance companies. And I've got this. I think this is the last thing I got from the White House. The best president. Let's take a look at President Trump. See what he's up to.
You want it, or you don't have to have it? Would you like it?
She's smart. She said yes. So cute. Do you want one, honey? You want one too?
Yeah, don't forget yours.
He's got a lot of Italian blood in him. Look here, that's for you.
Well, you must know what your name is.
My name is Donald. Okay, do you want a pen? Want a pen? 1, 2.
Just don't write on the walls.
3.
All right. I don't know whose kids those are, but yeah, anyway, that's cute. Something to end the show with. So anyway, that's all I've got for this episode. And if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It'll mean a lot to me if you subscribe, and I'll drop a new show every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, politicians, bureaucrats, agencies, and everything else. And I'll post daily episodes on X also, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.